Hey everybody, I'm Robin Bady. I'm a storyteller, and I'm also a teaching artist with Flushing Town Hall, where we believe in global arts for global kids. Well, I'm talking about fairy tales. And today I want to talk about one of the things that we all love about fairy tales. Well, I love magical creatures. You know, magical creatures like witches and dragons, ogres and elves, giants and fairies, and oh, there's so many others. There's so many, and all around the world, everybody has their own magical creatures. And they have their own names. Bruja, Banshee. You know, sometimes they're very scary and sometimes they're helpful. You know, like a fairy godmother is helpful. A troll always wants to eat you. Trolls are my favorite magical creatures. And you know why? Well, first of all, it's the way they look. They're big and they're hairy and they smell nasty. And sometimes they have coming from their nose and coming from their eyes, and their teeth are disgusting and their breath smells disgusting. And you know what their favorite food is, of course? Like all really scary magical creatures, it's humans. But the thing about trolls that I like is they're not very smart. So humans always defeat them. They just look scary. Now you find trolls in stories like The Three Billy Goats Gruff, right? That story is from Norway. And the troll stories, and there are so many of them, definitely go and Google troll and see all the different stories there are. But they're from the Scandinavian countries, Denmark and Sweden, and most specifically from Norway. Well, I'm going to tell you a story, but before I start, here's something I'd like you to think about while I tell the story. Trolls, they're nasty creatures who always try to get the best of you and they scare you. Who are the trolls in your lives? Do you have any people or animals or things or that scare you and that you can use what's inside of you to defeat? Think about it, because that'll be part of the story that you tell. So today I'm going to tell one of my favorite stories, and it comes from Sweden, actually, and it's called The Troll's Garden. Up in the mountains, there was a village. And it was actually on the ridgeline of a couple of different mountains. And in this village lived two boys. One was named Peter, and the other was named Olaf. Well, Peter and Olaf were great friends, and they were pretty mischievous. They wanted to do things that were adventurous. And they did them whenever they could, but it wasn't that often. Well, one day school was out, and they came through the village, and in the square was old Gustafsson. Gustafsson, oh, he had a mouth on him. He could tell a story, and no one knew if they were real or not, but they were fantastic. And as the boys drew near, they heard Gustafsson talking about, oh, well, I went up to, 3 mountains over, and I went up tall and high. I was just hiking up for the fun of it, and when I got to the very top of it, you're never going to guess what I saw. And everybody goes, what did you see? I saw the most remarkable thing. What was it? I saw a big cast iron fence. And behind that cast iron fence were the most remarkable, fabulous, beautiful, sweet-smelling flowers and fruit. A rose, you know the size of a rose, they were this big. And the apples, they were this big. Everything was bigger than you could imagine because, of course, this was the troll's garden. And you can't go in because you know what happens if you go in. And if they catch you, why, you have to walk backwards. Otherwise, they'll be able to grab you. Oh, it was quite a sight. I did get in, and I did get myself a pear and a couple of berries, but you can bet I'm not going to go back again. Well, Gustafsson stopped talking, and everybody talked among themselves. And Peter and Olaf started talking to each other. Oh, we should do this, right? What do you think? Yeah, I'd really like to do it. Yeah, that would be a great idea. But when? I said, oh, I know when. We can do it. Do you know that we only have half a day next week? I think it's on Monday or Tuesday. Half a day. We should do it then. All right. They decided to do it Monday. And so when Monday came, they had their backpacks, and without their mothers or fathers knowing, they packed a lot of food in those backpacks. And then they put them on, and when they got to school, they just hid them under their desks. And when school was out, the two boys got up and left as fast as possible. And they started walking along the ridgeline. And they passed the first mountain that was up that way. They passed the second mountain, which was up that way. And then they got to the third, and they knew the third was the one to climb. There was no easy path, so they had to do what they call bushwhack, make up a path as they went along. But they grabbed themselves some good sticks that they could use as staffs, and they started walking and walking and walking and walking. Oh, I didn't think it would take this long, said Olaf. We've got to keep on. Don't stop. Let's have our sandwiches. Okay. Well, they had their sandwiches, and then they started walking again and went up and up and up and up. And they went through the cloud line. And when they passed all the clouds and could look down on them, there in front of them were iron gates. And they could see through the bars that there were remarkable flowers and fruit and, oh, the blueberries, said Peter. Oh, I want some of those blueberries. And the lingonberries, they look remarkable, but how are we going to get in? Well, they sat down to ponder this when all of a sudden the gates swung open and out walked three trolls who looked very busy. One of them had a pitchfork on his shoulder, the other one had a shovel on the shoulder, and another one had a pickaxe in his hands. And the three of them walked without even noticing the boys, and they left the door open. Three boys got up quickly and ran in. And they started walking among the most beautiful fruits and vegetables and trees that they had ever seen. There was green and blue and orange and red. Gorgeous, wonderful. The smell itself. They picked blueberries and lingonberries. It took, a lingonberry is usually a little thing. There was big. And a blueberry, blueberries also very small, but they were like this big. And they ate and they ate and they ate and they ate. And they sat down to think of what next they would do when they looked up. And there was a great, big, hungry-looking troll that said, well, boys, what are you doing here? Have you come to offer yourself To be eaten? And the boys sprung up and said, no, we're not. No, we don't want to be eaten. We were just here. We heard all about this. And as they were talking, they were walking backwards. And I don't know what it is. It's as if it was like a magical trick, a spell on the troll, because the troll could not come close to them, even though he kept following them, walking forward. They walked backward, and oh, we're so sorry, but this is so remarkable. Thank you so much. Oh, the blueberries were amazing, until they finally got outside the gates, and the gates clanged shut, and they ran down the mountain. Oh, it had taken a long time to come up, but they went down pretty quickly, which would include sliding and somersaulting a bit too. And then they walked as fast as they could past another mountain, and finally into town. Well, they didn't know if they should tell anyone of their adventure. They hadn't told their parents. But pretty soon they started talking about having seen the great troll's garden. And so some of their friends decided to go with them back up there. And they did that long trek. But you know, when they got there, nothing. It had disappeared. No one believed them. But Peter and Olaf knew. They had been in the marvelous troll's garden.